There are 3 minutes left in the Game 7 finals between the Sixers and Grizzlies, and Dwyane Wade has the ball in his hands. His team is down by 4, and as the MVP of the league this season, the burden is all on his shoulders to pull the Sixers ahead to win their first championship since 1983. But how did we get to this moment? Let's rewind. On January 17, 1982, Jolinda gave birth to Dwyane Wade Jr. Dwyane grew up in Chicago and spent many years... Wait, hold up. This is way too far back. We can fast forward a little bit. Dwyane Wade was chosen as the 5th pick in the historic 2003 draft, and cemented himself as a superstar in Miami when he won them a championship in 2006. Averaging a ridiculous 35 points a game, and obviously won Finals MVP. He would continue to play for Miami for several years after, but after Shaq left, his time in South Beach seemed to be over. In the most insane offseason in NBA history, Wade decided to pack his bags and head to Philadelphia to join a young squad of Iguodala, Drew Holiday, and Lou Williams, who had beaten all the odds the previous season and made it to the NBA Finals. Wade not only won MVP, but led the Sixers to a second Finals appearance the following season, but couldn't beat out the previous champions, the Nuggets, who had also added to their squad during the offseason by signing Bosh. He tried to get his revenge the next season, but lost in humiliating fashion in the first round to the 8th seed Bobcats, as his rival LeBron James would win in the finals on his new team, the Utah Jazz. In 2013, the Sixers yet again made it to the finals, but this time lost to a scrappy Warriors team in just 5 games, who were led by Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Monta Ellis. This second finals loss cut Wade deep, and he came back the next season as great as ever, and led the Sixers to be at the top of the East for the 4th season in a row. They'd be facing the 8th seed Magic, who had just lost Dwight Howard and were in rebuilding mode, and this was seen as an easy matchup for Philly. However, when it came time to play, everyone besides Wade stunk things up on the court, and the Sixers would suffer yet another humiliating loss in the first round. In the 2014 offseason, Wade would be an unrestricted free agent, and it was expected that he would try and find greener pastures elsewhere. But much to everyone's surprise, he decided to sign a 5-year deal with Philadelphia, despite his team looking nearly identical the past 4 seasons. It would work out in the end, however, as he would yet again lead the Sixers to the 1st seed in the East, and would win the 2nd MVP of his career. In the first round, the Sixers would be facing the Milwaukee Bucks. Even though they were the 8th seed, they had last year's MVP, DeMarcus Cousins, and the Sixers didn't have any competent defensive center to lock him down. So this was expected to be a close series. However, in Game 1, the Sixers' worst fear would come to fruition as Boogie scored 43 points to blow out Philly by 26. Boogie's dominance would continue as he scored another 45 in Game 2 to give the Bucks a 2-0 lead on the road, and things were looking grim for Wade, who was again playing his heart out, but his teammates just couldn't keep up. Game 3 was make it or break it for the Sixers, and they all came out to play with 4 different players scoring over 20, and they would beat out the Bucks by 40 points. Game 4 was another victory for the Sixers, this time with only a 4-point margin, but a win is a win. The Sixers take Game 5 as well, as out of everyone on their team, Joffrey Laverne steps up and scores 19 points. Game 6 ends up being a close game, as the Sixers are up by just 1 with 1:30 to go. The Bucks are able to run a quick out-of-bounds play for Derrick Brown, and he finishes a layup to give Milwaukee the lead. On the next play, Shumpert finds Boogie in the paint with a mismatch, and he slams it over Wade's head. Unhappy with the disrespect, Wade comes back up and drills his patented fadeaway 3. He's done this move so many times it's like clockwork for him, and he drills it yet again. But on the other end, Boogie spins in the paint with ice in his veins, and lays it in for the lead. Wade comes back the other way and finds Drummond for the uncontested slam. The Bucks call a timeout, and yet again run a play for their best player in Cousins, who slams it in with ease. But the Sixers find their guy in Wade once more, and he has no trouble tying the game up with a smooth pull-up. Milwaukee's out of timeouts, and have to rush a play for Boogie, who gets double teamed and can't score the game winner. That miss would be a nail in the coffin for the Bucks, as the Sixers go on a tear in overtime and win the series. The Sixers would be facing last year's finalists in the Atlanta Hawks this next round, and it was another close series. The Hawks had lost their starting point guard Rajon Rondo, who decided to sign with the Washington Wizards during the previous offseason, but they still had a solid backup in Jeff Teague, so they were still a great team. They also had signed Amir Johnson, who was stepping up his game in Atlanta and was averaging 18 points a game in the playoffs. The Sixers would lose Game 1, but Game 2 was a much closer match. With a minute left, the game was tied. But that would soon change as Wade finds a wide open lane to the basket and slams it in. Jeff Teague would respond the next play with a Parker-esque spin move. The Hawks would learn from their mistakes and decide to double team Wade, who pulls off a ridiculous pass at the cutting Nene, who slams it in to take the lead. There's now just 30 seconds left, but T can't hit the open jumper, and the Sixers would take the series at 1 apiece. That would be the last close game, as the Sixers sweep in their next 3 games and would be going to the Eastern Conference Finals. In the conference finals, the Sixers would be facing the Toronto Raptors, who had built a great core around Kemba Walker, DeMar DeRozan, and Terrence Ross, and had only improved their squad by picking up Tim Duncan in free agency. He might be 38, but he was still a great presence on both sides of the floor. However, in the end, that wouldn't matter, as the Sixers would sweep them in 4 games, and would yet again be going to the NBA Finals. Philadelphia was here yet again, for the 4th time in 6 years. This was huge for the organization, and huge for Dwyane Wade, whose loyalty had paid off. He easily could have packed his bags and gone anywhere he wanted to, but he trusted in his teammates and his front office to deliver. And his faith in the city of Philadelphia paid off. Not only were the Sixers yet again in the finals, they're also the favorites, as they'd be facing one of Wade's arch rivals in Chris Bosh and his Memphis Grizzlies team. But how did the Grizzlies of all teams end up in the finals? 2 years ago, they weren't even a playoff team. So how did this happen? Let's rewind once again. After the Nuggets had won back-to-back championships, their team fell in hardship as Bosh and Melo both struggled with injury. Billups was only getting older, and Ty Lawson was plateauing. After a few seasons, it was clear their championship aspirations were over, and both Bosh and Melo leave in the 2013 offseason. Melo signs with the Mavericks after his first choice of the Sixers was vetoed by Donald Stern, and he leads them to a playoff spot, but can't get past the first round. Bosh faces a similar fate with his new team in Memphis, as he also gets swept in the first round. In the following offseason, the Grizzlies don't make any changes to their roster, but end the season as the top seed in the stacked Western Conference. Chris Bosh finishes top 5 in MVP voting, but what really helped propel the team was OJ Mayo and Wesley Johnson both stepping up this season. They would be facing the 8th seed Clippers, and would take care of business pretty easily in just 5 games. While their first matchup may have come easy, they would have to take on the defending champions in the next round, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Last season, the Thunder won 71 games behind their big three of Harden, Westbrook, and the free agency signing of Dwight Howard. In the playoffs, they absolutely dominated all of their competition, and would win the contested NBA Finals against the Atlanta Hawks after coming back from being down 3-1. Their chemistry on court was undeniable, but there were ego issues off the court, namely with Russell Westbrook, who was frustrated by Harden and Howard's immaturity in the finals, as they both had fouled out multiple games. So during the offseason, Westbrook would be the second Finals MVP in a row to swap teams in free agency, and he would sign with the Houston Rockets, where he led his team to the 3rd seed, which is notable because the Thunder came in 4th. While Westbrook's pettiness may have paid off during the regular season, it didn't in the playoffs, as the Rockets lost to the Melo-led Mavericks in the second round. But what about the Grizzlies and Thunder? Okay, maybe Westbrook's pettiness paid off a little bit. Nobody had favored the Grizzlies going into the series, but when OJ Mayo came out of nowhere to average 30 points a game, there wasn't much the Thunder could do. So all of this led to the Western Conference Finals, where old friends turned enemies. Bosh and Melo, their Nuggets days behind them, faced off in a battle of the ages. Game 1 was a tight one, as Courtney steps up big time at the free throw line and sinks them in to tie the game at 111. With the shot clock almost running out, Dante Exum tries to go fancy throwing a pass into Bosh, who fumbles with it in his hands, but is able to catch it and slams the ball in to give Memphis the lead. The Mavs, out of timeouts, have to resort to a Beaubois half-court lob, and he isn't able to score as Memphis win Game 1. The Mavericks would pull off one victory in Game 3 behind a game-winning slam by Melo, but the Grizzlies would sweep in 5. So that brings us to the final showdown. 2 previous rivals facing off yet again in the NBA Finals. Chris Bosh and Dwyane Wade would yet again be going head-to-head. Once draftmates and close friends, they would have to put their friendship aside and battle it out in a legacy-defining matchup. Dwyane Wade comes out swinging in Game 1 and drops a 35-point triple-double in a resounding win, and would follow it up in the next game as he drops 40 points, which just happened to also be the margin by which the Sixers won. Game 3 was a must-win for the Grizzlies, and they were only up by 3 with under 2 minutes to go. However, after Wade misses his patented fadeaway and a pull-up from the elbow, the Grizzlies managed to pull off a narrow victory. Despite pulling off another victory, Wade again comes in full swing in Game 4 and takes a commanding 3-1 lead. We saw the Thunder come back from 3-1 last year against Atlanta, but that was an entirely different circumstance. The Hawks' best player was Paul Millsap, and the Thunder had a trio of Westbrook, Harden, and Dwight Howard. The talent difference between Philly and Memphis this year was much closer. In fact, the Sixers team on paper was better than the Grizzlies, who didn't have any All-Stars outside of Chris Bosh. But what Memphis lacked in talent, they made up for in heart, as they were down by just 2 with 2 minutes to go in Game 5. Wesley Johnson jukes out Dwyane Wade and attacks the basket, slamming it down. The Grizzlies bench goes crazy, but they're soon silenced as Lou Williams sinks in a 3 on the other end. Wesley Johnson finds Bosh off the pick and roll, however, and it's now just a 1-point game. Dwyane Wade comes back up the court and breaks OJ Mayo's ankles with a 6-step back, and takes full advantage by steamrolling towards the rim. He draws Nerlens Noel and passes off to Drummond, who botches the layup. Take note of this moment, because it's about to become a pattern. The Grizzlies come back on a fast break and find West in the corner, who gets a lucky roll on the 3 to take the lead. With 30 seconds to go, Wade passes to Ron Artest and cuts towards the rim off a screen from Birdman, leaving him wide open in the paint. Artest doesn't pay any attention to him, however, and instead passes to Lou Will, who botches the 3-point attempt. There are now just 27 seconds to go, and the Grizzlies decide to dribble out the clock. Bosh hits a pick on D. Wade to try and get a mismatch, and he succeeds. Bosh had 7 inches on Wade, but he couldn't manage to back him down, as D. Wade plays an elite defense, forces the miss, and grabs the rebound. This left the Sixers 2 seconds to win or tie the game. Wade runs around the perimeter and darts toward the basket for an alley-oop, but yet again his teammates don't see him, and Birdman decides to pass it into Drummond at the 3-point line, who chucks it up and misses. Yet again, with the game on the line, Wade's teammates have let him down. He was just 2 plays away from winning his 2nd ring, but the goofballs that Philadelphia's front office has surrounded him with had dropped the bag, yet again. But it was alright, they're still up 3-2, and Game 6 is back in Philadelphia. Surely this would be an easy win. Oh. Well, nothing comes easy for Dwyane Wade, I guess. So, we're now all caught up. And that leads us back. Back to this moment in time. Unfortunately for the Sixers, things were not looking good. Despite having a terrific backcourt defense, they didn't have any big man that could handle Bosh, and he would take advantage in the paint, increasing the Grizzlies' lead to 6 in the closing moments. Hope seemed to be lost for the Sixers, as Exum throws up an alley-oop for Bosh with 1:30 left. However, a miracle happens, and Bosh can't catch the ball. The Sixers push the ball back up the other way, and find Iggy on the cut to close the gap to 4. The Grizzlies call a timeout, and run their patented pick and roll with Bosh, who converts the finish this time, and makes it a 6-point game. Wade can't finish, and neither can Drummond, and things are looking droll for the Sixers. Down by 6 with 40 seconds to go, they needed a miracle to catch up at this point. But miracles only happen in fairy tales. However, rookie mistakes are a constant that you can count on, and that's what they got as Exum threw the ball lazily away. Laverne knocks it away and passes off to Lou Will, who passes to Iggy in the corner, and he scores it. It's now a 3-point game with 35 seconds to go. The Sixers are still in it. All they have to do is just get a stop and hit a 3 on the other end. Memphis call a timeout, and they are sweating. They know how good of a defensive team the Sixers squad is, and they'd be foolish to do anything but feed the big man in the paint, as that was Philly's chink in their blemishless armor. However, Lionel Hollins instead decides to go with the unexpected. He decides to do what no other coach would think to do, and he decides to pass it into O.J. Mayo, who's being guarded by Philadelphia's best defender, Dwyane Wade. Wade swipes the air to pick off the pass, but he misses it by a hair, and O.J. lays it in with 28 seconds to go. Philadelphia calls a timeout, and decides to try and score a 2-for-1. Laverne actually manages to find Wade, and he steps in the paint for a closer shot. He had messed things up on defense, but this was his chance to redeem himself. This was the chance that he'd been waiting for the whole finals, and he was not going to back down. He puts it up, and it clinks out. Drummond tries to put it back in, but also misses, and Philadelphia's journey would be kaput. Their 4th final in 6 years, and yet again, it ended in failure. The Grizzlies squad stormed the court in celebration, as this team had won Memphis their first ever NBA championship. It was a journey that no one could have predicted, as O.J. Mayo cements himself as an NBA star, and Chris Bosh wins his 2nd ring and his first Finals MVP. Dwyane Wade refused to talk with the media after the game, and would avoid their calls for the next week. The obvious question is whether he's going to request a trade. He had already proven himself to be the best player in the NBA, but it was clear that the squad surrounding him wasn't what he needed. He needed more. And to make matters worse, there was another team in the East who was in the works to become one of the greatest teams of all time, with a squad of Kyle Lowry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and a draft and stash player who would be coming in next season. You may have heard of him, Nikola Jokic. Thank you all so much for watching another episode in this series. I was getting bored of the structure I'd built for these resimulations, so hope you guys enjoyed the changes I made in this one. Let me know what you all thought, and if you have any suggestions on what else I could try. In the meantime, go follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/BigBirdBallin. I stream all of these resims live over there, so make sure you follow so you don't miss the next resimulation. Also, go join my Discord and follow my Twitter, so you can be updated on what I'm working on. Also, like and subscribe. I've already made another custom roster for an earlier season that I've been working on for the past month. In order for the plans I have to work out for the future series, I'm gonna need a lot of follower interaction for it to go how I want it to go. I won't say anything else to avoid spoiling it, but just know the more viewers I get, the more interesting the videos will be. I promise you. But that'll do it for this video. In the meantime, go and watch the previous episodes of the simulation series. It'll be here on the end screen for you to click on. Peace.